I'm Charles Holmes-Hope, coming to you from the 2012 ACUHO-I Annual Conference being held in Anaheim, California, and serving as your host for a special event that ACUHO-I is pulling together in honoring Chief Housing Officers, pillars of the profession. Our goal is to honor and pay tribute towards these wonderful and amazing folks who have given their hearts and souls to really help to advance and pay forward this wonderful and outstanding profession. So come along as we pay tribute and honoring them for all of their hard work and commitment towards this profession. What do you believe will be some of the biggest challenges that housing professionals will face in the coming years?
Well, I think there are a number of challenges, and one I think is the generation of folks coming up as young professionals now. I look at my own children who, and their spouses who have already considered career changes, and they're young, and it makes me nervous about housing folks. That I kind of feel like Derek Jeter sometimes, you know, that without the salary and the body and the running ability, but other than that, I feel like Derek Jeter, and that I've stuck with CMU, kind of through thick and thin, and they've stuck with me. And I think that's going to be rarer and rarer for our young professionals because there are so many issues with our students now, too. I look at alcohol and drugs and mental health issues, and of course, a lot of those things have been around they've all been around for decades, but some seem much more severe now that I think we need to be able to compensate our professional staff, provide them with mental health days or time away so that in family time and some other things that maybe some of us weren't afforded when we were coming through the ranks in order to keep them. I do think it's going to be difficult.
I do think within the last 15 years or so there have been some important developments that I think will be hallmarks for the profession for a really, really long time. And one of those is living learning programs and the ties that we have with faculty and academicians on the campus. And the other one is learning outcomes and trying to figure out how we're going to develop learning outcomes that complement the academic mission of the institution and complement the learning that goes on in the classroom. So I think in many ways the last 15 years has sort of been the time where we've sort of come into our own and decided that we understand we have to be part of the academic mission of the institution. We have to complement that. We're not going to be the cornerstone of the campus. And we've figured out how to do that, and we've done it very well.
I think we've all been inundated with student mental health issues. That has on my campus risen significantly, and as I share with colleagues. And that goes back to the kinds of students that are coming up and my previous comments about the safety systems that were there. We have to maintain those safety systems, but we have to push the responsibilities, as I said, back to the students and to the families. Some of our buildings are continuing to age. We talked about the privatization. We have to get the right people on the bus in terms of our staff. I think we're getting better with that. We have to identify what our needs are as an organization in response to the needs of the students. If you hire well, you supervise easy. Supervision for staff is always going to be a key. Everybody supervises or is participating in management of others. So that's a key skill I also think you have to have. The basics for the students will not change. They're leaving home trying to figure out what to do with the rest of their lives, developing some emotional, financial independence from family, and create their own way in the world. And all we're trying to do, whether it be in residence life student housing or just on the college campus, we're providing that support system so they can achieve their goal. That has not changed. It's just the methods we go about doing that.
Well, we've seen incredible growth in ACUHO-I in the larger global arena. I think that, and this had been talked about literally for decades, trying to define the I in ACUHO-I? What does international mean? And I think in the last 6, 7 years, the various leaders and executive boards, and certainly the leadership in the central office, have really gotten their heads around that idea. And you see ACUHO-I involved with training professionals in South Africa, for example, or reaching out to other regional housing groups in other parts of the world. The emergence of China, and what is happening there, and and they're building campuses and housing of thousands of students. That I think the future in that regard is just off the chart in terms of where our work can go, and helping other regions of the world better serve the students that live in university housing.
Well, some of the same ones that we do now, but cost is going to continue to be an issue. And issues of diversity, they're not going away. And we haven't found the answer or the answers. So I think helping people understand that difference doesn't need to be bad, scary, uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable, but that's a good thing, because if you respond to it positively, you will grow and exponentially learn about different kinds of things. But I think to be more specific about that, I think gender-neutral housing is a huge issue. Some areas are dealing with it better than others. Some find a way to kind of deal with it, but not really deal with it. And so I think that's going to be a large issue that isn't going to go away, and we need to find a way to manage that positively.
There's still the need, if we talk about the old British and idea of education creating a well-rounded person, a person who can engage in leadership, a person who can engage in humaneness and consideration for their fellow humans. The residential experience, not the Facebook experience, will be ever so important in a global way. And if we can't communicate the value of what we do by giving results of what we do through assessments and so forth, that's going to be a challenge. And most of us who are in student service, and we don't like doing, we like to feel good. We don't need to document that, we have a learning outcome and you're better at doing this than you were when you first came here, and you have a better knowledge of this than when you first came here. God, that's hard work. So I think part of that becomes the big challenge is as we change.